When I discuss Social Security on this channel, I get hundreds of thoughtful questions from viewers like you. One that caught my eye last Friday was one that I've seen many times before, and it's a common misconception about Social Security. The viewer asked, what if I take Social Security at age 62 and invest it in an S&P 500 index fund? Wouldn't that give me a better return than waiting until age 70 to claim full benefits? On the surface, this seems like a smart financial strategy that deserves some serious consideration. After all, the S&P 500 has returned about 11.6% per year on average over the last 50 years, and by waiting, the payment increases somewhere between 5 and 8% depending on when you actually take Social Security. So 11.6% versus 5, 6, even 8% should seem almost like a no-brainer. So why wouldn't you choose the higher return option if the math seems to work out in your favor? There isn't just one reason why this doesn't work. There are actually 5 reasons why taking Social Security and investing it in, say, an index fund actually doesn't work in the real world. I'll start with the most obvious issue and then work my way towards the deal breaker that almost always kills it for most people. And then at the end, I'll talk about the one rare instance where this strategy might actually work. By the end of this video, you'll understand why guaranteed income almost always beats theoretical returns when it comes to retirement planning. You'll also learn how to make smarter decisions when it comes to claiming your Social Security retirement benefits. And by the way, this information could literally save you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime, so why don't we just dive right in? Let's start off with the math that makes this strategy look attractive to so many people. 11.6% is mathematically greater than 5 to 8% for delayed retirement credits. There's no doubt about that. And when you run spreadsheet calculations and you use some generous returns, the results can look promising at first. These assumptions almost always start with taking Social Security at age 62 and investing every single penny. The assumptions assume a 15% tax rate on your Social Security, a 2.5% cost of living adjustment on both taking it early and taking it late, and a 0% capital gains tax on the investments as they grow. Using these assumptions, if you take the funds at age 62 and invest them, or age 67 and live on them, the break-even point is about age 79. This means if you live past age 79, taking Social Security late would have been the better choice. And from age 79 onward, the dollar advantage grows very significantly over the next 10 years. But here's what these calculations don't account for: real-world complications that destroy this theoretical advantage. Perfect spreadsheet math rarely translates to real-world outcomes when human behavior is factored into the equation. The assumptions I just mentioned are extremely optimistic, and they don't factor in the fact that human beings don't always act as predicted, when it comes to money especially. Even small changes in these near-perfect assumptions can change the outcome in favor of delayed claiming. Now, what am I talking about? People rarely invest every single dollar that they get when they take Social Security early. Human behavior is such that their spending rises to the occasion, so to speak. These assumptions expect you to maintain perfect discipline over the 5-year period from age 62 to age 67, or over the 8-year period from age 62 to age 70, depending on which calculation you're looking at. And this level of financial discipline seems sensible in theory, but in practice, it usually doesn't work out that way. When people receive monthly income, they almost always spend at least a small portion of it, if not more. Even financially disciplined people tend to use the extra Social Security payment for things like a lifestyle upgrade, emergencies, or even daily expenses. So let's say that you take off even $100 a month from your Social Security payment. That moves the break-even point from age 79 into something much closer, 75 or 76, depending on the size of your payment. The problem compounds when you're talking about the fact that $100 in someone's life doesn't seem like a lot of money, and they tend to spend a little bit more than that amount, especially if it's there. Emergency car repairs, medical expenses, family needs all tend to put pressure on the individual to dip into that pot of investable income and use it for something other than investing. And it's not lack of willpower or financial knowledge. It's that human beings are human, and when these situations arise, they find the funds to pay for these problems. And the math behind claiming early doesn't account for these behavioral realities that affect most of us. The next major issue is what financial experts call sequence risk. The fact is that 11.6% represents 50 years of data, and on average, over 50 years, that is the correct number. But the stock market doesn't deliver steady, predictable returns the way that a fixed income investment would deliver steady, predictable returns. Instead, they vary wildly, with some years showing dramatic losses. Take 2008. There was a 38% drop in the market because of the global financial crisis. The markets didn't return to pre-crash levels until 2013, a full 5 years later. Meanwhile, Social Security offers two forms of built-in guaranteed growth, no matter what's going on in the market. The first is the delayed retirement credits that we talked about earlier. For every year that you wait, between ages 62 and age 70, your payment goes up by between 5 and 8% per year, 5 to 6% per year before full retirement age, and 8% per year after full retirement age. And then the cost of living adjustment protects your purchasing power against inflation. Now, is it perfect? It's not even close, but it does move in only one direction. Both of these benefits are guaranteed by law, and they're not tied to stock market performance. They provide predictable inflation-adjusted growth that you can count on into your retirement future. Now let's discuss the deal breaker, the one that undermines the investment strategy for most people. The viewer who asked the question planned on continuing to work and investing their Social Security payments while they worked. This sounds like a reasonable plan, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way, for most people anyway, unless they're at full retirement age. The SSA won't let you work or earn over a certain amount without having to give part of your Social Security payment back. The reason comes down to something called the Social Security earnings test, which frankly most people don't understand. If you claim Social Security before you reach full retirement age, and I'm talking about this strategy, most people are thinking about age 62, the Social Security earnings test will kick in for most people. And by the way, the test kicks in automatically. Whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else, you'll be limited in how much you can earn before you have to start giving part of your Social Security payment back. In 2025, for example, unless this is your full retirement age year, so that for most of you would be age 66, but starting at age 62 through age 65 anyway, you can't earn more than $23,400. For every dollar you earn over that amount, you have to give 50 cents back. If you're in your full retirement age year, but you haven't reached full retirement age yet, you can earn up to $62,160 and not give any money back to the SSA. For every $3 you earn over that limit, you have to give $1 back to the SSA. Now, the Social Security Administration doesn't actually keep the money that you return back to them, but they do hold on to it and then recalculate your payment at full retirement age. This basically means that you lose the ability to invest those funds if you're working and collecting Social Security, because you have to return them back to the SSA. They're not in your brokerage account. They're probably in your checking account, getting ready to be sent back to the Social Security Administration. And of course, this completely defeats the purpose of claiming early to take those funds and invest them in the market. The end result is a lose-lose situation. You either reduce your earnings or you have low earnings in order to not have to give part of your funds back, or you have regular earnings or high earnings and you have to give part of your funds back. In either case, the earnings test makes it nearly impossible to execute successfully a claim early and invest strategy. Now, let's say that you decide to get creative and not work at all. Instead, you're going to live off of your investments and you're going to claim Social Security and invest those funds into the market. This approach clearly solves the earnings test problems, because if you don't have earnings, there's no earnings test. But it creates another problem. First, you'll likely pay taxes on the investment returns that you use to cover your living expenses, instead of leaving them in an account to continue to grow. Second, you'll probably pay federal and probably state taxes on your Social Security payment. Third, you'll be investing after-tax dollars instead of pre-tax dollars, which is typically what's shown in these optimistic calculations, which support the theory that you can take Social Security early and invest it. Because of all of these tax obligations and the fact that you're taking money out of your investment accounts and then reinvesting your Social Security payment, you're effectively spending your Social Security payment. By the way, the tax drag that I talked about reduces your 11.6% return to something significantly smaller, actually. And although there's been a lot of talk about no tax on Social Security, that's not currently in place, which means that your Social Security payment, up to 85% of your Social Security payment in certain circumstances, can be taxed at ordinary rates. The combination of all of these significantly reduces the impact of your early claim and invest strategy. By contrast, if you delay claiming Social Security, then you actually may have a tax benefit because you certainly aren't being taxed on Social Security payments that you're not receiving, but also the underlying assumptions that you're making, maybe you're working and you're not taking money out of an investment account. Who knows? But one thing that you know for certain is that if you wait and you claim a larger Social Security payment, even if 85% of that payment is taxed, that still means that 15% is not taxed. And that also means a larger Social Security payment could mean that you leave money in your taxable accounts, your taxable retirement accounts, longer. So does it ever make sense? Well, despite everything we just talked about, there's one situation where it might actually make sense. This exception applies to people who meet very specific and somewhat unusual circumstances. First, they don't have a spouse or dependents that could benefit from a survivor benefit. Second, they must know with reasonable confidence that they're not going to live into their late 70s or beyond. If both of these situations apply, their cumulative return might be better if they claim Social Security early. However, this exception comes with one specific catch that many people overlook entirely, and that is the survivor benefit is based in large part on the size of the deceased's Social Security payment, either the payment that they were receiving, or in the case of not receiving a payment at all, the Social Security payment that they would have received had they filed either at the larger of the full retirement age or their date of passing. In other words, the longer they wait to claim Social Security, the higher the survivor benefit, as long as they claim by age 70, that is. So delaying the claim isn't about just maximizing their income, it's about protecting their family in the event that they meet an early demise. And to finish the thought, for most married couples, the survivor benefit in and of itself makes delaying a smart financial choice. If a major goal of yours is to maximize Social Security benefits, a smart move might be to wait. Consider delaying your Social Security until full retirement age or maybe even age 70 for maximum benefits. When it comes to retirement income planning, guaranteed income beats theoretical returns almost every time. If you like this video, check out that video on Social Security survivor benefits or that video on taxes on Social Security. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I'll see you in the next video.